At this point, we would like to call back Sir Jim and give him the honor of introducing our distinguished keynote speaker. Sir Jim.
Hi, Julius. Thank you very much. It's really my pleasure to introduce my very good friend, Harish Handy, who is the founder of Selco. Selco is an inspiration for all of us here in the Philippines. He started it more than 25 years ago. And in 2011, he was recognized with the Ramon Magsaysay Award. So I don't know, Harish, if that was the first time you came to the Philippines, but that award was given to Harish for his work in understanding, developing, and deploying sustainable energy solutions for underserved communities. And I was very pleased to meet Harish at one of our Schwab events. Harish is also a Schwab social entrepreneur, as well as a Skoll social entrepreneur. So you can see that Harish is just this innovator with a huge heart focused on helping people. And in 2014, I actually went to India together with a study team from Peace and Equity Foundation and from Ramon Magsaysay Foundation. And we went, we were hosted by Harish all over Karnataka, which is a province in India, which is, I think, bigger than the Philippines in terms of population. And I was just so inspired by what he had done, because they had built an umbrella of organizations tackling all of the various aspects, all of the various gaps in the energy access ecosystem. There was Selco India, there was Selco Foundation, there was all of these incubation labs, even a fund that they've created. And so it was so inspiring. And so Harish, I don't know if you know that the work that we're doing here at the network was really very much inspired by you. We've been extremely thankful that you've been coming to the Philippines to help us nurture what we're doing. I was so sad that you weren't able to come last year, but I'm really glad that you can be with us, even if it's remotely today. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome my brother from a different mother, Dr. Harish Handy.
Thank you, Jim, for this very kind introduction. And I think when you asked in anything I would do for Philippines is, as I say, it's my first home along with India. And it's very close to my heart for multiple reasons. And it's been, I think, as I had said during, Jim, we have spoken a lot of time. Philippines is facing the brunt of climate, the first one to face the biggest brunt of climate, year by year, month by month. And why don't we turn it around and use that climate crisis that other countries are not facing as much as the climate crisis as Philippines is facing, on the number of typhoons that you go through on a yearly basis. There's so much of, I would say, opportunity for us in Philippines to actually show what actual adaptation means and use sustainable energy. SDG 7 is an extreme catalyst to provide those solutions for the millions of people who get rendered homeless after each and every typhoon. How can we build more sustainable buildings, sustainable households, more sustainable livelihoods, that they can actually start immediately after a crisis, one way or the other? Because we believe that crisis brings in those innovations. And for us, why Philippines is a very, very critical country, Jim, I've been speaking, it's the innovations that will come out of Philippines during those climate crises is actually valid during the COVID crisis. Today, COVID and climate, the biggest brunt is being faced by the poor. I mean, the middle class and above middle class can actually get away by having work from home, from other vaccinations. But the poor in both the countries, whether you look at India and the Philippines, are the people who left alone, who cannot have the luxury of working from home. Let's be very clear. It's a very sexy note. Okay, let's have these technologies and work from home. But it's a physical labor that actually is the only mainly the way we have created an ecosystem that the poor's only LinkedIn profile is physical labor, and that's ridiculous, because that we would say that we have confused ourselves with intellectual poverty and financial poverty and created a concept of intellectual racism, that the financially poor people in both of the countries cannot actually be more than just physical labor, and we have been racist. We call about ourselves about racism of the distance from, but the biggest racism is what led to the immense decades of poverty in India itself. Jim, in the last 1 year during COVID, 200 million Indians have slipped to poverty. 200 million Indians. So what have we done in the last 6 decades then? Everything that we have done is like a band-aid, and that clearly showed that the COVID was very clearly showed that the band-aid has easily fallen. 200 first thing that we did, what we did after the first wave in March of 2021, we actually told the migrants, we don't need you, you go back, right? We didn't fire the senior management people who are earning a lot. What we did was millions of the poor, we told, please go back. We actually don't need you. Can you imagine? They're left, they come to the urban areas with a certain aspiration. We are telling them to go back. Isn't that racism in many ways, right? Secondly, what did we do? So what has COVID led to, and why it's very critical for this network that Jim has put across to think, is that COVID has put decentralization at the centerpiece. The collapse of the central systems across the world in terms of supply chains, transportation, vaccination has proven that decentralization is the only way to democratize livelihoods, democratize health, democratize education. And SDG 7, the sustainable energies of decentralized application, is the enabler to actually happen. And Jim, what we did was we basically said Selco is not an organization that should be closed for lunch and dinner. It's not a restaurant that should be closed for lunch and dinner. COVID was a crisis where we actually cancelled all the holidays of the youngsters and said, this is the time for you to prove yourself, because 5-10 years down the line you'll be a brilliant crisis manager, because you are not going to get a crisis like that so easily, to prove what can you do for the poor, what are the innovations. Because okay, it's a lockdown, everything is closed. Okay, what's your plan B? Don't tell me COVID is an excuse, you can't do a solution. That's a COVID crisis is something that the poor are going from centuries, boss. It's a crisis. We feel it's a crisis, but the poor have felt this crisis for ages. What is the solution you want to do? And that's when Jim, we took up a small hotel and we packed all the youngsters and said, well, this is the time for you to prove that what can you do for the poor one way or the other. And COVID crisis, which actually showed that SDG 7 or sustainable energy solutions became a saving grace or a savior for a lot of the poor. Decentralized cold storage systems in rural area, solar power for health centers in the rural area were one of the saving grace of oxygen and power. And when people were suffering from lack of oxygen, many of these hospitals which were solar powered, actually there were people were vying for bed in those hospitals because they were the most reliable, that would not succeed, right? COVID was the first time where a lot of the government officials reached out to us, Jim, which we had not done before. A lot of them said we need solutions because centralized. So, for example, a lot of the poor farmers were losing out vegetables because they were getting wasted. We created solar powered cold storages where people put their vegetables and started selling in the 15 to 20 kilometer radius. Solar powered mobile vans became a democratized way of collecting swab collection centers in the rural areas, right? Solar powered pottery making machines led to making sure that the rural areas had market linkages. A lot of the solar powered sewing machines led to creation of masks and everything else that led to decentralization of livelihoods. We used a lot of these opportunities to prove to the government officials that solar power in a democratized manner was a savior for their solutions. You know, in the last 1 year, we have now solar powered 800 plus hospitals. And in the next 3 months, and actually also built a hospital from scratch, of 100-bed hospital from scratch in 14 days, with 100 ICU beds, with 100% reliable oxygen, which could have been done because we used solar power for oxygen and electricity, and sustainable materials for the panels that we could actually put up the whole hospital in under less than 14 days. It's all possible. And I'm telling all the youngsters who are listening, it's like, it's no time to complain. We can easily, it's our generation or our parents' generation, leave the complaints to them. Our generation has to prove, okay, boss, in the Philippines, something is not working in the slums. Don't say government. What can you do as four other solutions? I'm telling you, if 150 Filipino kids got together and worked for a year, 99% of Philippines problems can come up with solutions. So the thing is that as Jim last time told, the young Indian kids and young Filipino kids, today is the time to actually prove the worth for your nation. Don't waste your time joining McKinsey's and EY's, and don't waste your time going to the US. You're absolutely losing an opportunity. Youngsters in Philippines and India should actually get together, create a climate COVID solutions for agriculture, animal husbandry, built environment, textile and crafts, disaster, disability. You will then become the leader of innovations for Indonesia, for Mali, for Brazil. Both the countries can get together and create a solution for the 4 billion people whom we have not created. And the beauty of India and Philippines is that because we all know English, plus we are both countries of what paradox of an underdeveloped and developed countries. Both countries have an ecosystem of good finance, bad slums, good agricultural research, bad water management issues. We have problems and problems, and that's a candy store. So both the countries should get together from climate resilience, from drought conditions. We have deserts, we have floods. Get together and create centers of innovations. If we are able to, Jim, create 10 centers of innovation in Philippines alone, from Mindanao to up Philippines, create those, map out the ecosystem of each of these 10 places, create appropriate problem idea database, articulation problem, create solutions, potential solutions, which are related to SDG 7. We will map out within next 5 years what the 4 billion people in the world actually need. And these are active. If India creates 10 centers, Philippines creates 5 to 7 centers. Between 17 centers, we are going to cover most of the typographies. We are going to cover most of the agricultural supply chains and value, rice, millet, wheat, everything else. We can cover horticulture. We can cover animal husbandries, from piggeries to poultry to cows to animal husbandry to dairy. We can cover any type of crafts and textiles, from barber shop to smoked fish to anything else. We can cover disabilities. Both our countries actually do not create innovations for disabled people. We can actually come up with different disabilities to create innovations and link to sustainability. Physiotherapy, solar powered physiotherapy right at the doorstep of the poor. We covered to disasters. You have climate disasters like typhoons. We have climate disasters like drought, receding water tables, over flooding in the Philippines. We have an equal opportunities, youngsters. So I tell youngsters of both countries, stop complaining, because we don't have time. We have only 80 years of our life. Let's start coming up for solutions. Congratulate to the award winners, but the award is not about getting an award, frankly speaking, and it's not about selling. The question is, how are you growing an impact? It's not about how many solar panels India has put, how many people are living sustainably. That's the impact that we all have to. How many people are actually getting reliable health services? And by the way, it's run on solar. Don't make solar the centerpiece. Make sustainable delivery of health as a centerpiece, sustainable delivery of education as a centerpiece, sustainable delivery of maternal and labor room as a centerpiece, and automatically SDG 7 can be a critical fact. And that's what, please, Jim, we know, as you said, we're brothers. Our countries are brothers. We need to work together, because we are somehow, somewhere, we have got stuck up into the scale and said, how do I scale up, rather than look at how do I scale up the processes that leads to more Filipinos not going into poverty? How can I create scale up process that leads to more Indians not going into poverty? And that's where I would request and let's not lose this opportunity that both of our countries have, and we have a window. Let's prove it in the next 10 years. Create the 6 centers in Philippines and 10 centers in India, and prove it that by 2030 both the countries are very near to the SDG 1, SDG 2, SDG 3, SDG 7, SDG 8, and prove those are the right models rather than looking at the silicon model of scale up. Our model of scale up is decentralized way where that every poor in the country is empowered to innovate and entrepreneur and have a livelihood that is respectable and inclusive. Thank you, Chairman.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Harish. That was truly inspirational. I mean, now I'm left with a lot of things to think about. And I'm sure that there are people out there who have questions for you.
Sure.
And you may actually text us your questions via YouTube or Facebook, and Miss Chris will be sending them over to me. And in the meantime, Sir Jim, do you have any questions for Dr. Harish?
Yeah, maybe not so much of a question, but just a reaction, which is, Harish, again, you're such an inspiration for all of us. I thought that what I was laying out for the network was ambitious. I think the ambition that you have is really born out of a deep, deep caring for the people that surround you, and that the solutions are out there, and that people have so much capacity, right? And that both our countries. It's what was coming to my mind is the notion of necessity is the mother of all invention. Right. And I think both of our countries, given all the situations that we find ourselves in, I agree, I can't find any two peoples that are more innovative, because when your back is against the wall, right, you find ways, and that's what Filipinos are excellent at. I've seen it in India, all over, and my hope is that our network can enable that power, that can unleash that power, from everyone that we're working with. It can come from anywhere. It's not coming from the investors. It's not coming from the technology partners. I mean, can be from anyone. We have some amazing technopreneurs out there, right? Our technicians, my goodness, such innovation. I wish we could find ways to support them. So thank you very much for your comments. Jules, are there any questions from the group?